Gunpla, the only hobby cheaper and more fanatical than Warhammer. But much like Warhammer, painting the kit becomes an almost religious experience of trying to reach that peak of your ability. Of course, accompanied by a small dog. Minutes turn into hours, hours turn into days, days turn into months, all in the pursuit of perfection. I'm working on this classic master grade Banshee, Norn I believe it is. There are a few flaws with this kit that are annoying to say the least, many of which would require a great deal of scratch building to fix. But I don't have time for all of that jazz. With the power of 3D printing, I can fix at least one of my issues with this kit, using very little effort on my part. Ironically, Heygears contacted me and wanted to know if I was willing to feature their printer in a video again. I was already working on this anyway, so win-win. The hands on the master grade from this era of Gunpla are just pure trash. Functionally, they work, because at the time, they could hold weapons, but aesthetically, they were an eyesore. These are the infamous one trigger finger with the other three molded together. Bandai kept this idea for God knows how many years, and this was the evolution of it. Back in the day though, this was revolutionary, but by today's standards it's grossly outdated. After all the time and energy I spent on this kit and how cool it looks, despite its limitations, the hands are the most glaring issue even someone new to the hobby would pick up on. So I'm using the Heygears RS Turbo to print up some fixed pose hands that look light years better and really improves the overall look of the model kit. I wanted to do a little diorama with some streetlights and stuff like that, but didn't have enough time, so we're going to keep it simple. Alright, just focusing on the hands here, and I'm going to do these all manually because I want to have as little contact points as possible with the supports. I'm using Blueprint Studios, Heygears' proprietary splicer software. In fact, you might want to use it with other printers because it's a little easier to use, especially when you use the smart feature. But for this, we're going manual. When building Gunpla, each detail is important, and the more you get into the hobby, the more money you spend on paint, airbrushing, brushes, tools, etc. You really want your kits to just come together when you work on them. You want something that looks good. And if there's anything out of place, like these horrible hands, it really bothers you. 3D printing is the future of Gunpla in my opinion. Already they have 3D printed hands, accessories, tanks. It's pretty much a standard in all of Asia, but for Americans it's kind of expensive in some instances and hard to get in others. So printing up my own hands and tiny little accessories for things saves money and time. Right now I'm using the PAF10. It's probably my go-to resin because it's flexible. Also, proprietary resin from Heygears. So the beauty of Heygears, in my opinion, is that I can just use whatever they sell and not have any issues. I don't have to figure anything out. I don't have to have some magical crystal ball. It all just works. This is the only printer that I actually just set it and forget it. And that's the beauty of this printer. I do not worry about ever having a failure, even when I screw up, which is kind of crazy. It's like the printer protects me from myself. But anyway, we're just checking out these parts, popping them off, and with the supports where they are, perfect. You don't have to sand. You don't have to do anything actually when they're set like this. And you can see the tiny details in the knuckles, the recesses. This gives you the ability to paint in those tiny details and really put your kit over the top. So it's a rousing success, making the 3D hands incredibly easy, incredibly fast, and worry-free, especially if you're not that into sanding. You still have to paint it though. And the fitment is perfect every time. That's right, pop it right in, we're good to go. Fantastic. See, we're pretty much halfway done. Still gotta paint it. That's the rub. Technically, with the PAF10 resin that I have just used, you can hand paint it without using any primer. So, you know, if you're one of those people that hand paint your Gunpla, this is still an option. Ironically, while printing up these hands, and I did about 2 or 3 batches, my build plate wasn't perfectly level, and it still printed everything I needed without any failures, which is kind of crazy, and once again shows just how good the printer is. And by the way, sometimes you don't really need to manually adjust. Maybe your printer got bumped or slid just ever so slightly. If you adjust it on the table or the little feet at the bottom, and then have it check itself for leveling, more often than not, it's fine. Now that the hands are on, the model kit takes on a new life. It's far more aesthetically pleasing and visually just grandiose. This is how you imagine Gundam hands to look. Even Bandai themselves have started to adopt this kind of look for future master grades and MGEXs. Now it's at your fingertips, and you have the freedom to use it whenever, wherever, and on whatever kit you have. And the old hands are so janky and ugly, and they're just not that good visually, are they? The whole point of Gunpla is expression and freedom, and I want my kits to look as professional as humanly possible with the limitations and circumstances I'm in, and I'm sure you feel exactly the same. I'd like to give a shout out to No Star for sending me these hand files years ago. They have served me well ever since. And to Heygears for sponsoring this video. If you click the link in the description or use the code ItsAGunpla, you could save $50 off of your order. By the way, I've just been told by Heygears that they're having a monthly promotion, and for this month, let's say, you know, the RS Turbo is pretty steep, you could get the normal RS Ultracraft Reflex for a discounted price of $6.99 rather than $9.99, saving yourself $300 in the process. And if you so choose, you can always upgrade to the Amber screen later and save even more money in the future. Oh well, that's enough for me. So as the man who gave me my first airbrush said, do great things.